The bright flash lit up the sky over Houston like a second sun. People stopped in the streets, cars pulled over, and millions of eyes turned upward as the massive ship broke through the clouds. It wasn't the first alien vessel to enter Earth's atmosphere. That had happened 3 weeks ago when a small scout ship landed on the White House lawn. But it was by far the largest. Dr. Samantha Collins watched from the roof of the NASA Command Center, her heart racing. As the lead xenolinguist for the United Earth Response Team, she had been one of the first humans to speak with the aliens who called themselves the Galactic Concorde. Now, as their massive embassy ship descended slowly toward the landing zone, she clutched her translation tablet tightly. "Quite a sight, isn't it?" Captain Alan Murphy said, joining her at the railing. His Air Force uniform was perfectly pressed, as if he'd dressed to meet God himself. "I still can't believe it's real," Samantha admitted. "After all those years of searching the stars, they just showed up." The ship, nearly a mile long and shaped like a gleaming silver leaf, settled onto the massive landing pad with surprising grace. Steam rose where its hull touched the concrete. "The president's motorcade just passed the outer checkpoint," Murphy said, checking his earpiece. "We should head down." The reception area had been transformed over the past 20 days. What was once a simple aircraft hangar now featured an elaborate meeting chamber with a circular table and translation systems built to the Concorde's specifications. President Gregory Martinez was already there when Samantha and Murphy arrived, surrounded by advisors and security personnel. "Dr. Collins," the president nodded, "how's your confidence level on the translation systems?" "Very high, sir," she replied. "We've made tremendous progress understanding their language patterns. It helps that they've been studying us for years." The president frowned slightly. "Yes, that part still bothers me." Before he could continue, the massive doors at the far end of the hangar slid open. Ambassador Zeltorix entered, flanked by 4 other aliens of different species. The ambassador stood, nearly 7 feet tall, with iridescent blue skin that seemed to shimmer under the lights. 4 arms emerged from a slender torso, and large, multifaceted eyes surveyed the room with obvious intelligence. "President Martinez," the alien's voice came through the translation system with only a slight delay. "The Concorde extends formal greetings to Earth. Ambassador Zeltorix." Martinez stepped forward and placed his hand over his heart, the greeting gesture they had established. "We welcome you and your delegation." Lisa Winters watched the exchange from the press section, her reporter's instincts on high alert. Something about the alien's demeanor bothered her, a subtle condescension she couldn't quite place. As the official welcoming ceremony proceeded, she made notes on her tablet, recording details that the other reporters missed. The way the aliens positioned themselves, how they seemed to communicate with subtle movements. The fact that despite claiming to be a delegation of equals, Zeltorix clearly directed the others. The ceremony gave way to the formal presentation. On massive screens around the hangar, images of wondrous alien cities and advanced technology appeared. Ambassador Zeltorix spoke of medical breakthroughs that could eliminate cancer, energy systems that would end pollution, and faster-than-light travel that would open the stars to humanity. The Concorde was founded on principles of mutual advancement, Zeltorix explained. "We believe that all intelligent species deserve the opportunity to join the galactic community. Earth has reached the threshold where contact is not only permitted, but encouraged." "And what does the Concorde expect in return?" President Martinez asked the question that was on everyone's mind. Zeltorix's upper arm spread wide, and what they had learned was a gesture of openness, cultural exchange, scientific collaboration. "Eventually, Earth will contribute to Concorde projects as your technology advances. We seek friendship, not resources." 3 hours later, in a private conference room, Samantha Collins reviewed the translation recordings. Something wasn't quite right with some of the nuances. The Concorde language was complex, with layers of meaning encoded in subtle variations of tone and rhythm. She had programmed the system to catch these variations, but some passages had ambiguities that troubled her. Her phone buzzed, a text message from a number she didn't recognize. "Meet me at Callahan's pub at 9. Important. About your translation. Concerns. Come alone. LW. Lisa Winters sat in a dark corner booth when Samantha arrived at the pub. The reporter motioned for her to sit. How did you know about my translation concerns? Samantha asked immediately. I have sources. Lisa shrugged. And I've been watching you during the meetings. You get this little crease between your eyebrows when something doesn't translate, right? Samantha touched her forehead self-consciously. So what's this about? Lisa slid a data stick across the table. Take a look at these images. My contact at NASA captured them from one of our deep space telescopes before the Concorde arrived. Later that night, alone in her apartment, Samantha plugged the stick into her secure terminal. The images showed the far side of the moon, where a massive Concorde ship had been stationed, apparently for months before first contact. Other images showed smaller ships extracting something from the lunar surface. Her phone rang. It was Captain Murphy. Collins, I need you at the base immediately. We've intercepted some unusual communications from the Concorde ship. What kind of communications? The kind that don't match their public statements. Get here now. By morning, Samantha hadn't slept. She, Murphy, and a small team of analysts had worked through the night, comparing the intercepted messages with the public statements. The discrepancies were subtle but unmistakable. They're cataloging our resources, Murphy said, his face grim, and they're particularly interested in our genetic diversity. We need to tell the president, Samantha insisted. Already scheduled. For 0800, Murphy replied. But we need more evidence before making accusations that could derail humanity's greatest opportunity. President Martinez listened carefully to their concerns in the Oval Office but remained cautious. The Concorde has already delivered preliminary medical protocols that our scientists confirm could revolutionize treatment for several diseases. We can't risk this relationship based on translation ambiguities and some mining operation on the far side of the moon. Sir? Samantha leaned forward. I believe they're being deliberately deceptive in their communications. Continue your analysis, Dr. Collins, but keep these concerns contained for now. The public is excited about the possibilities the Concorde represents. I won't create a panic without concrete evidence. As Samantha left the White House, her phone buzzed with another message from Lisa. They're establishing embassies in 12 cities. My sources say the buildings have underground levels not on the official plans. Meet tonight, same place. Samantha looked up at the sky where the massive Concorde ship now hovered over the city, a shadow against the clouds. 5 years of studying theoretical first contact scenarios hadn't prepared her for the reality of standing on Earth as aliens walked among them. Humanity had dreamed of this moment for centuries, but as she watched people taking selfies with the ship in the background, Samantha couldn't shake the growing fear that humanity's greatest dream might be carefully disguised as a friendly hand, while the other hand held a knife. 5 years passed since the Concorde ships first arrived. The world had changed in ways few could have imagined. Gleaming Concorde towers now stood in major cities across the globe. Their medical technology had wiped out several deadly diseases. Their clean energy systems had replaced fossil fuels in many regions. Most people saw the aliens as saviors who had arrived just in time to save humanity from its own mistakes. Dr. Samantha Collins was not most people. She stared at her computer screen in her small apartment, reviewing the latest data from Dr. William Hayes, an astrophysicist working at the Deep Space Monitoring Station in Alaska. The readings showed massive energy spikes in Earth's orbit, far larger than anything the Concorde had officially disclosed. Her secure phone buzzed. It was Lisa Winters. Did you see the data? Lisa asked without greeting. I'm looking at it now, Samantha replied. This can't be routine survey operations like they claim. It's not. My source inside the Chicago embassy says they're building something big in orbit. And there's more. The resource exchange program. It's completely one-sided. They're taking 10 times more than what's in the official reports. Samantha rubbed her tired eyes. For 5 years she had worked within the system, trying to understand the Concorde's true intentions. Captain Murphy, now Colonel Murphy, had helped where he could, but the military had been effectively sidelined by international agreements giving the Concorde special status. We need to meet, Samantha said. The usual place, and bring your hacker friend. The usual place had changed over the years. What once was Callahan's pub was now a rundown coffee shop called Milo's, one of the few places not equipped with Concord surveillance technology. Lisa was already there when Samantha arrived, sitting with a teenage boy who looked barely old enough to drive. "This is Ben," Lisa said. "He's the one who got into their communication systems." Ben looked nervously over his shoulder before speaking. "They're using our own satellites to transmit data back to their fleet. I managed to intercept some of it." He slid a small device across the table. "It's encrypted, but maybe you can make sense of it with your translation algorithms." Later that night, Samantha worked in her makeshift lab in her apartment's spare bedroom. Colonel Murphy had secretly provided her with military-grade decryption tools, though such possession was now technically illegal under the Earth-Concord Cooperation Act. The files began to decrypt, revealing schematics, maps, and what appeared to be population statistics. One file contained detailed analyses of Earth's mineral resources, with most labeled as extraction in progress, or scheduled for Phase 2 extraction. Her phone rang. It was an unlisted number. "Dr. Collins? This is Commander Nicole Porter, Space Force. We need to talk." The next morning, Samantha met Commander Porter at an observation point overlooking the city. The female officer was in civilian clothes, her military bearing the only hint of her profession. "Space Force has been effectively neutered," Porter said without preamble. "But we still have a few eyes up there. 2 days ago, we detected unauthorized Concord vessels in restricted zones around our remaining military satellites." "What were they doing?" Samantha asked. "Attaching devices. Small ones. When we asked the Concord liaison about it, we were told it was standard communication enhancement technology." Porter's jaw tightened. "They were lying. Those devices are capable of disabling our entire satellite network on command." Samantha shared what she had learned from Ben's encrypted files. Porter's face grew grimmer with each detail. "There's more," Porter said. "We've been tracking unusual disappearances near Concord facilities. People go in for their advanced medical treatments, and some never come out. Not many. Maybe 1 in 1,000, but enough to notice a pattern." "Human experimentation?" Samantha felt sick. "We need to get this information to someone who can act on it. President Martinez is completely sold on the Concord. He won't listen." "Not Martinez. The resistance." Samantha blinked in surprise. "There's an organized resistance?" Porter gave a small smile. "Did you think you and your reporter friend were the only ones with doubts? There are many of us, Dr. Collins, and we need your expertise." 2 days later, Samantha found herself in an abandoned subway tunnel beneath the city. Colonel Murphy was there, along with Lisa and about 20 others, military personnel, scientists, and ordinary citizens who had glimpsed the truth behind the Concord's friendly facade. A tall, muscular man with a scar running down his cheek stepped forward. "I'm Jack Donovan, former Special Forces. Welcome to the Resistance, Dr. Collins." "We're small but growing," Lisa explained. "Jack has been building a network across the country. There are similar groups forming worldwide." Donovan pointed to a crude map on the wall. "The Concord has been establishing what they call agricultural research stations in remote areas. Our intel suggests these are actually resource extraction points, where they're mining rare earth elements and other materials." "But why the deception?" someone asked. "If they wanted resources, why not just take them by force?" Dr. William Hayes, the astrophysicist who had provided the energy spike data, spoke up. "Because they're playing a long game. Earth is just one of many worlds they're harvesting. A direct invasion requires military resources. This way, we do the work for them, and they avoid interstellar laws against conquest." Samantha shared what she had learned from the decrypted files. "They're not just after minerals, they're studying us, our biology, our genetics, our psychology. The files keep referring to something called population optimization." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "They're planning to cull us," Colonel Murphy said flatly. "Keep the humans they find useful and eliminate the rest." "We need proof," Donovan said. "Something concrete we can take public." "I might have a way," Ben said quietly from the corner. Their main communication hub is in the Washington Embassy. If I could get inside their network from there, I could download their actual plans. That's suicide, Lisa objected. The security, there is impossible to breach. Not entirely, said a new voice. A young woman stepped forward from the shadows. I'm Olivia Reyes. I've been working as a technician in the embassy for 8 months. I can get Ben access. Before they could discuss further, alarms sounded on several people's phones. Colonel Murphy checked his device, his face hardening. They're moving up the timetable. The Concord just announced they're implementing new security protocols starting tomorrow. All major cities will have Concord peacekeepers on the streets. It's starting, Samantha said. Whatever they've been planning, they're making their move. Donovan looked around the room. Then we make ours. Olivia, get Ben into that system. The rest of you activate your cells. It's time for humanity to wake up. As the meeting broke up, Samantha pulled Lisa aside. There's something else in those files I didn't want to mention in front of everyone. References to a final protocol called Resource Extraction Finalization. I'm still working on the translation, but from what I can tell, it involves stripping a planet of everything valuable. Lisa's eyes widened. Even if it makes the planet uninhabitable? Especially if it does, Samantha replied grimly. I think Earth was never meant to be their outpost. We're just their next meal. President Gregory Martinez stood in the Oval Office, his face pale as he watched the security footage. The video clearly showed Concord ships landing at military bases across the country without authorization. His chief of staff and a small group of trusted advisors watched in silence. Get me Ambassador Zeltorix, Martinez said, his voice tight with anger. Now. 20 minutes later, the blue-skinned alien entered the Oval Office. Unlike previous visits, Zeltorix did not bring a small delegation or exchange pleasantries. Ambassador, you need to explain why Concord ships are landing at our military installations without permission, Martinez said, fighting to keep his voice steady. Zeltorix's multifaceted eyes showed no emotion. It has come to our attention that certain elements on Earth are working against the Concord's integration efforts. We are simply taking precautionary measures. By invading our military bases, that's a direct violation of our agreement. The agreement has been updated. Zeltorix made a gesture with his lower arms. Earth is now under direct Concord administration as a developing protectorate. Your autonomous period has ended. Martinez stared in disbelief. That's not possible. We have no such provision in our treaty. You should read the original text more carefully, not the translation your people produced. Zeltorix's tone turned cold. We have tolerated Earth's limited self-governance during the initial resource assessment phase. That phase is now complete. Before Martinez could respond, his secure phone buzzed. The message from his military advisor read, All major military installations worldwide reporting forced lockdowns. Unknown tech has disabled our weapon systems and communications. We are effectively neutralized. Martinez looked up from his phone to find Zeltorix watching him with what could only be described as satisfaction. What do you want from us? Martinez asked quietly. Earth has always been a Class 3 resource planet. You will continue to extract materials according to our specifications. The population will be optimized for efficiency. Zeltorix moved toward the door. Resistance is not advised. A formal announcement will be made globally in 1 hour. After Zeltorix left, Martinez gathered his closest advisors. Contact all friendly nations immediately. We need to coordinate whatever response we can manage. But it was already too late. Across the globe, Concord ships had positioned themselves over major cities. Strange devices had been activated in the Concord embassies, sending out energy pulses that disabled military equipment and communication systems. In Washington, D.C., Samantha Collins watched in horror from the Resistance's underground command center as Zeltorix appeared on all broadcast channels simultaneously. People of Earth, the alien began. The Galactic Concord thanks you for your cooperation during the assessment phase. Earth is now officially designated as Concord Protectorate 147. For your safety and the efficiency of resource collection, new administrative zones have been established. Conquered peacekeepers will maintain order as we transition to the new governance structure. The broadcast showed images of tall robotic sentinels being deployed in major cities. They looked almost human in shape but moved with an unnatural precision that was deeply unsettling. "What now?" Lisa Winters asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Colonel Murphy pointed to a map of the eastern United States. "We've established safe zones here, here, and here. Admiral Morgan has secured several naval vessels that weren't affected by whatever technology they used to disable our military." Jack Donovan stepped forward. "Our priority is to get our people to those safe zones. Then we figure out how to fight back." "Fight back with what?" someone asked. "They've disabled all our advanced weapons." "Not all of them," Olivia Reyes said. Everyone turned to look at the young engineer. "I've been studying their technology for months. The disabling pulse affects electronics with certain circuit patterns, basically anything made in the last 30 years, but older, simpler weapons might still work." "Great," Lisa said sarcastically. "We'll fight their advanced alien technology with muskets." "Not quite," Olivia smiled grimly. "But I've been working on something else. A way to use their own technology against them." The resistance moved quickly. As Concord peacekeepers established control zones in cities, small groups of humans slipped away to predetermined meeting points. The resistance had prepared for this day, even if they hadn't expected it so soon. Samantha worked with Ben, the teenage hacker, to decrypt more of the Concord files. What they found confirmed their worst fears. "Look at this." Samantha pointed to a timeline on her screen. "They're not planning a long-term occupation. This is a harvest operation. They strip the planet of resources and move on." "How long?" Jack asked. "Months, not years. They've been setting up their extraction equipment for the past 5 years while pretending to help us." Colonel Murphy cursed under his breath. "We need to get this information to Admiral Morgan. If anyone can mount a military response, it's him." 3 days later, Samantha arrived at a hidden coastal facility where Admiral Frank Morgan had established a temporary headquarters. The old naval bunker had been built in the 1960s with technology too primitive for the Concord pulse to affect. Admiral Morgan was a tall man with steel-gray hair and eyes that had seen too much combat. He listened carefully as Samantha explained what they had learned. "So they're stripping our planet like locusts," he said when she finished. "And they've been planning this from the beginning." "Yes, sir. And there's more." Samantha hesitated. "President Martinez was taken into protective custody yesterday. The Concord has installed human collaborators to run local governments." "Traitors," Morgan spat. "Some are true believers who still think the Concord is helping humanity. Others were promised special status, exemption from population optimization." Morgan turned to a map on the wall. Red markers showed Concord control zones spreading across the country. "We've been gathering what forces we can," he explained. "Old weapons, vehicles with simple electronics or mechanical systems. We have about 20,000 personnel worldwide who escaped the initial takeover." "That's not enough," Samantha said quietly. "No, it's not, which is why we need a game changer." Morgan led her to another room where Olivia Reyes was working, with a team of engineers. Olivia looked up from a workbench covered with alien technology. "Dr. Collins, good. I could use your help with the translation of these components." "What is all this?" Samantha asked, looking at the strange devices. "Parts we've salvaged from damaged Concord equipment," Olivia explained. "I think I've figured out how their neural network operates. They use a quantum entanglement system that links all their technology. If we can access that network, we could disable their systems," Samantha finished, understanding dawning. "Exactly. But we need more components, and those are inside there. Controlled zones." Admiral Morgan stepped forward. "That's where our next operation comes in. We're going to hit the Chicago embassy and take what we need." Samantha looked from Morgan to Olivia. "Even if we get the components, how do we use them against the Concord?" "That's where Project Firestorm comes in," said a new voice. A man in a lab coat entered the room. "Dr. Eric Russell, Weapons Research. We've been developing a countermeasure ever since the Concord arrived. We never trusted them. Russell unrolled a set of blueprints on the table. If Ms. Reyes is right about their quantum network, we can use it to deploy a synchronized attack on all their systems simultaneously. But we need access to their main communications hub, which is in their Washington embassy, Samantha said, remembering what Ben had told her. Yes, and it's the most heavily guarded Concord facility on the planet. Admiral Morgan's face was grim, but determined. Then that's where we're going. We have one chance to save our world, and I intend to take it. The Chicago operation was set for midnight. Jack Donovan led a team of 20 former Special Forces soldiers, each equipped with weapons old enough to avoid the Concord's disabling technology. They moved through the dark city streets, avoiding the robotic peacekeepers that patrolled the main roads. Olivia Reyes traveled with them, a backpack full of tools slung over her shoulder. Her knowledge of Concord technology was essential for the mission. Remember, we need the quantum relay intact, she reminded Jack as they approached the embassy. Damage it, and this whole mission is for nothing. The embassy stood in what was once Grant Park, a gleaming tower of alien metal that seemed to absorb the moonlight. 2 robotic sentinels guarded the main entrance, their sensors sweeping the area continuously. How do we get past them? One of the soldiers whispered. Olivia removed a small device from her pocket. Their sensors operate on a specific frequency. This should create a blind spot for about 3 minutes. After that, they'll detect the interference and adapt. She activated the device. The sentinels continued their patrol, but their sensor patterns shifted, leaving a narrow path unmonitored. Now, Jack ordered. The team slipped through the blind spot and reached a service entrance. Olivia worked quickly, connecting another device to the door's control panel. The door slid open without an alarm. Inside, they moved through dark corridors. The embassy was mostly empty at night, with only a skeleton crew of human collaborators and a few Concord overseers. The relay should be 3 levels down, Olivia whispered, consulting a schematic Ben had pulled from the Concord's own systems. They found the stairs and descended. The lower levels felt different, colder with strange humming sounds coming from behind closed doors. What's that smell? One of the soldiers asked. Some kind of processing area, Olivia replied. The Concorde uses biological components in their technology. Biological from what? Jack asked. Olivia didn't answer. They all knew the stories of people who entered Concord facilities and never came out. The quantum relay room was behind a heavy security door. Olivia studied it for a moment, then attached several devices to specific points around the frame. This will take a few minutes, she said. Keep watch. While she worked, Jack's radio crackled softly. Eagle to ground team. Large Concorde vessel approaching your position. ETA 5 minutes. Hurry, Jack urged Olivia. The door finally slid open, revealing a room filled with pulsing crystalline structures. In the center stood what looked like a tree made of light, with branches extending in impossible directions. That's it, Olivia breathed. The quantum relay. She moved quickly, attaching specialized equipment to the base of the light tree. The devices began to download the relay's configuration data. How much longer? Jack asked, glancing at his watch. 2 minutes to complete the download. Then we need to place the disruptor. Outside, they heard the sound of the approaching Concord ship. Alarms began to ring throughout the building. They know we're here, one of the soldiers reported. Hold. Position, Jack ordered. Nothing matters except getting that data. The download completed just as they heard the heavy footsteps of sentinels approaching from both directions. Plant the disruptor, Jack told Olivia as he positioned his team at both entrances to the relay room. Olivia attached a small device to the base of the relay. This will transmit false data throughout their network. It won't last long before they detect it, but it should buy us a few hours. The first sentinel appeared in the doorway, a 7-foot robotic figure with multiple arms ending in weapons. Jack's team opened fire with their old but effective weapons. The sentinel stumbled back under the barrage. Time to go, Jack said as more sentinels appeared. They fought their way back up through the embassy, losing 3 soldiers in the process. By the time they reached the surface, the Concord ship hovered directly overhead, bathing the area in harsh blue light. "Split up," Jack ordered. "Rendezvous at Point Bravo. Olivia comes with me." The team scattered. Jack and Olivia raced through side streets, pursued by sentinels. They barely reached the underground tunnel entrance before a sentinel's weapon fired, grazing Jack's arm. 3 hours later, they regrouped at an abandoned subway station miles away. 16 of the original 20 had made it out. Olivia immediately began transmitting the relay data to Admiral Morgan's base. "Did we get what we needed?" Jack asked, as a medic treated his wound. Olivia nodded, her face tired but triumphant. "Everything. The quantum network's complete configuration, and the disruptor is working. Their communications will be scrambled for at least a few hours." Back at the coastal bunker, Samantha Collins and Dr. Eric Russell worked frantically to integrate the new data into Project Firestorm. The project had originally been designed as a last resort weapon against alien invasion, a system that could disable advanced technology across large areas. "The relay data confirms our theory," Russell said, studying the information from Chicago. "Their entire network is vulnerable to a cascading feedback loop." Admiral Morgan joined them, his face grave. "We just received new intelligence. The Concorde is accelerating their timetable. The resource extraction finalization is scheduled to begin in 3 days." 3 days? Samantha's heart sank. "That's not enough time to evacuate even a fraction of the population. Which is why we need to deploy Firestorm immediately," Russell said. "It's our only chance." Morgan nodded. "What do you need?" "We need to set up transmission nodes around the globe," Russell explained. "Each node has to be precisely calibrated to the local Concorde technology. When activated simultaneously, they'll create a feedback surge through the quantum network." "And that will disable their technology?" Morgan asked. "If it works correctly, yes, but there's a cost." Russell's voice was solemn. "The surge will also destroy most of Earth's modern infrastructure. Anything connected to Concorde systems will be fried, will be set back decades, technologically speaking." Morgan was silent for a moment. "Better than being extinct." Teams were dispatched around the world, each carrying a transmission node and the technical specifications for installation. The resistance had grown over the past week as the Concorde's true intentions became clear. Even some former collaborators had switched sides after witnessing the aliens' brutal efficiency. In the bunker's communication center, Samantha received reports from resistance cells globally: London, Tokyo, Sydney, Cairo, Berlin, all reporting Concorde ships positioning for the extraction phase. "What exactly happens during resource extraction finalization?" she asked Dr. Russell. He showed her the simulations they'd created based on the decrypted Concorde files. They position ships in the upper atmosphere and activate enormous gravity wells. These literally pull resources from deep within the planet: metals, minerals, water. The process fractures the crust and destabilizes the core. The planet becomes uninhabitable, Samantha whispered. "Yes, they've done this before. Many times, according to their records." Samantha thought of all the promises the Concorde had made, all the smiling human politicians who had welcomed them, all the parades and celebrations. 5 years of lies, leading to humanity's extinction. Admiral Morgan entered the room. "All teams report nodes in position. We're ready to activate Project Firestorm on your command, Dr. Russell." Russell looked at the countdown timer on his screen. 24 hours until the Concorde begins extraction. We need to strike first." "What are our chances?" Samantha asked quietly. Russell's expression was grim, but determined. "Against their technology? Minimal. But humans have a history of beating the odds when our backs are against the wall." "Then let's make history," Morgan said. "Prepare to activate Firestorm." The bunker buzzed with activity as the countdown to Firestorm activation entered its final hours. Samantha Collins worked with Olivia Reyes, making last-minute adjustments to the system. Dr. Eric Russell coordinated with teams around the world, ensuring each transmission node was properly calibrated. Admiral Morgan entered the command center, his face showing the strain of the past weeks. The conquered ships are moving into extraction position. Our window is closing. We're almost ready, Russell replied. But I've been thinking about something. The quantum network doesn't just control their technology. It also serves as their communication system. What are you suggesting? Morgan asked. A modification to Firestorm. Instead of just disabling their systems, we could use their network to broadcast a message to the entire galaxy. Samantha looked up from her work. What kind of message? A warning. Evidence of what they did to us. Their extraction plans. Their lies. Everything we've discovered about them. Russell's eyes were intense. If they've done this to other worlds, maybe there are other species out there who should know the truth. Morgan considered this. Can you make that happen? Olivia and I think so, but it will require someone to upload the message directly into the main hub in Washington. That's a suicide mission, Morgan said flatly. The Washington Embassy is the most heavily guarded Concord facility on the planet. I'll go, Samantha said quietly. All eyes turned to her. I understand their language better than anyone. I can make sure the message is properly encoded. Before Morgan could protest, an alarm sounded. A young technician called out, Sir, we're detecting energy buildup in the Concord fleet. They're starting the extraction process early. How long? Morgan demanded. Less than 6 hours until full activation. Morgan made his decision. Prepare the modified Firestorm plan. Collins, take a team to Washington. Everyone else proceed as planned. 2 hours later, Samantha sat in a transport helicopter with Jack Donovan and a small strike team. They flew, low over the landscape, avoiding Concord detection systems. The modification is ready, she said, holding up a small device. This will hook into their quantum network and broadcast our message throughout their entire communications system. Jack checked his weapon. We'll get you to the hub. Just make sure that message goes out. Washington, D.C. looked nothing like the city Samantha remembered. Concord structures dominated the skyline, and extraction equipment towered over the National Mall. They landed several miles from the embassy and proceeded on foot through abandoned subway tunnels. The main hub is on the embassy's top floor, Jack said, studying the building schematics Ben had provided. We'll need to fight our way up. A young resistance fighter named Amanda Lewis led point. I found a service entrance with minimal security. It's our best shot. The team moved through the empty streets, dodging patrols of sentinels. The sky had taken on a strange reddish hue as the Concorde ships began the preliminary phase of resource extraction. They reached the embassy and used Olivia's technology to create another sensor blind spot. Amanda led them to the service entrance, which was guarded by a single human collaborator. Jack quickly and silently neutralized him. Inside, they moved upward floor by floor, encountering surprisingly little resistance. Something's not right, Jack whispered. Where are all the guards? They've probably moved most personnel to the ships for extraction, Samantha suggested. They aren't expecting an attack. The top floor was different. As they approached the corridor leading to the quantum hub, 6 sentinels blocked their path. We need a diversion, Jack said. Amanda stepped forward. I'll draw them off. The rest of you get to the hub. That's too dangerous, Samantha protested. This is for Earth. Amanda's eyes were determined. My family is gone. This is all I have left. Before anyone could stop her, Amanda darted into the open, firing at the sentinels. As expected, they turned and pursued her, leaving the path to the hub clear. Jack led the remaining team to the hub's entrance. We'll hold this position. Collins, do what you need to do. Inside the hub, Samantha found herself in a vast chamber similar to the one in Chicago, but much larger. The quantum tree here reached from floor to ceiling, pulsing with light and data. She quickly connected her device to the base of the tree, then began typing furiously, preparing the message. She included everything: the Concord's initial deception, their true plans, the details of their extraction technology, and most importantly, the modifications the Resistance had made to Project Firestorm. If other worlds received this information, they might be able to defend themselves. As she worked, she heard gunfire outside. Jack and his team were engaging more sentinels. She typed faster. At the coastal bunker, Dr. Russell watched the countdown. Timer reached 0. All nodes reporting ready. Admiral, we're prepared to activate Firestorm. Morgan looked at the satellite imagery showing conquered ships in position worldwide. Has Collins uploaded the message? Not yet. Wait. Russell pointed to his screen. Upload in progress. In Washington, Samantha finished the message with a personal addition. We were betrayed, but we did not die quietly. We leave this message and this gift to all who face the Concorde's false promises. They believed us primitive but failed to. Understand that humanity's greatest strength has always been born from our darkest moments. Today we fall, but our legacy will terrify those who thought us weak. Remember Earth. She pressed send. The quantum tree flashed brilliantly as the message entered the network. Her device beeped, confirming successful transmission. The door behind her burst open. Jack stumbled in, bleeding from a shoulder wound. We need to go. Now. It's done, Samantha said. The message is sent. They ran for the roof where a helicopter waited. As they lifted off, Samantha contacted the bunker. Russell, the message is uploaded. Activate Firestorm. Across the globe, transmission nodes activated simultaneously. The quantum network that connected all conquered technology pulsed with unexpected energy. What began as a small disruption quickly grew into a cascade failure. On the conquered command ship, Ambassador Zelterix received alarming reports. What is happening? He demanded. The humans have somehow accessed our quantum network, a subordinate replied. They've triggered a system-wide failure. Impossible, Zeltorix raged. They are primitives. Sir, they've also broadcast a message to every Concorde world and beyond. Our extraction operations on 12 other worlds have been exposed. In the helicopter, Samantha watched as Concorde ships began to lose power and drift from their positions. Some crashed into the ocean. Others collided with each other in orbit. The extraction equipment below sparked and exploded. It's working, she whispered. Jack looked at her. What happens now? Now we rebuild, Samantha said. Without their technology, it won't be easy. But we're still here. Earth survived. The helicopter flew over the devastated but liberated city. Below, people emerged from hiding places, looking up at the disabled conquered ships with wonder and relief. Weeks later, Samantha stood with Admiral Morgan on a hillside overlooking the ocean. In the distance, the remains of a conquered ship protruded from the water. We've received the first responses to our message, Morgan said. Apparently, we weren't the only world the Concorde targeted. There are others out there, survivors like us. Are they coming here? Samantha asked. Some of them. They want to learn how we defeated the Conquered. Samantha looked up at the stars, thinking about the message that now traveled between them. Earth's final defiant act had not been in vain. The betrayal that nearly destroyed them had instead unified humanity and reached out to distant worlds. We should prepare a welcome, she said. A proper one this time. Morgan smiled slightly. I think we've all learned to be a bit more careful about who we invite home. Yes, Samantha agreed. But we've also learned how strong we really are. Perhaps that was worth discovering. As darkness fell, they turned back toward the lights of the recovering city. In the sky above, the stars no longer seemed like distant mysteries but potential friends and potential enemies. Either way, humanity would be ready.